Hello, hello, hello. Uh, how you guys doing? I apologize ahead of time if I'm a little bit early, but I apologize ahead of time if you hear things in the background. It is summer vacation, so yeah, so children are, so Parker will probably be doing more late lives. We have so much to talk about tonight. Um, Breaking news as of about 15 minutes ago was that the mayor of Uvalde has they have collectively as Hey Jen, Rebellious Solo, Hey Jen, Hooligan, Cool Gamer, has they have denied Arredondo. I don't even know how to say his name. Arredondo, that works. Hey Punkette, they have denied his leave. He has missed, it's my understanding, if he misses two more city council meetings, he's gone, but they have denied his leave, which basically means he either has to man up and show up, or uh, the citizens obviously want him gone. And the mayor said that he is not going to say right now if that would happen. The reason they had to bring him into city council was because of the fact that, you know, at that point they knew no info. All right, awesome, Amber. Hey, they didn't know as much, I guess, blah blah blah, but he said if there was a vote to vote him out, yes, his answer would be yes for him to go. um Good, Solo, good. I will say I have listened to about every piece of today's testimony. I believe they are actually still going a little bit, and some of it was more just like, what'd you do? Oh my gosh, Punkette. Hey, Brandy. Oh my gosh. I am so sorry, Punkette, but in fairness, it's been building for you. Oh my gosh, you guys, look at this is knowing that you care. So this is kind of what we would have liked to see the police do. I want to make something, oh, Punkette, I'm so sorry. I want to make something very clear. My stance on the Uvalde situation is not my stance on law enforcement. My stance in this situation is for how these police acted that day. As far as people within the town want charges brought from him, I will say that when I listened to the Senate hearing, let me spin. What I did not like that the mayor said was he said something about the Senate being, at least the House had, hey Jackie, okay, at least the House had the decency to, behind closed doors, the Senate, and he called them some name, like it's just some petty childish name, and to be quite honest, the Senate did the right thing. He is going to, the mayor is going to get a hold of the district attorney tomorrow, and he is actually pushing for things to be released from the DA as far as video and whatnot. He said that he is doing what he can to get that released. I agreed with part of what so the mayor feels like Uvalde is being targeted too much, the Uvalde PD, and everyone's not targeting the other, blah, blah, blah. Stupid politics. But he did say that the only thing he will never release, which we can assume, is pictures of the children, obviously. Part of me is like, would that be what it takes? But I don't think so. So that's it. But he has been denied his leave. That's pretty big. So now he has to make a decision. Is he going to man up and start answering? Oh my goodness, answering, or is he going to lose his job? I know that the I guess you call them civilians, the people in the city are like, we want him never to be able to work again. Hey Tia, so Brandy, are you kidding me? Yeah, so he was in Austin apparently. I will say there was one cool thing that the Sheriff Association and the Police Association, I guess, are two different things, and both of them met together. This was the last one I watched tonight. It was happening on 7:30. And the Sheriff Association guy was talking about how, yes, they only have like 10 of something. Are you going upstairs, sweetie?
Yeah.
I love you.
Me too.
Okay. About they only have this. Yeah, Rebellious and any mods drop links as people come in. They only have this much. I know, Tia. I've missed you. This much equipment. All this, but he said this was awesome. Oh gosh, where's my daughter? This was not a lack of equipment. This was a lack of commitment.
Lack of commitment is the worst.
Did you just hear my not 10-year-old? He just said a lack of commitment is the worst. Hey, Jill. I don't think there's. Dude, did I just put my shirt on backwards?
Hey, what,
This.
Mommy, what
Yes.
are you talking about anyway?
Oh, just adult stuff. This was not a lack. Hey, Remy. A lack of equipment, but a lack of commitment. Boom. Thanks, Tia. No. Okay. All right, son. A lack of smarts. We can go that route as well. All right. The fact that Pete Boy is dodging everybody is disgusting. Goodbye. Upstairs. Good night.
Nah.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
Nah. Nah.
Okay.
I'm ready a new one. Nah.
Okay. Get your knob upstairs.
No.
All right. So let's. Okay. Now you gotta be quiet.
It means
Okay.
no, Mommy.
I know, but now you gotta be quiet, and I'm focused. All right. Okay. So go, or I'll get your dad.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you can share Tia's thing too. Love you, buddy.
Wait, I'm sorry, who? I'm sorry, who?
Tia. She's a friend of mine on here.
Wait, no, I'm sorry, who?
Dad? Your daddy? Go. All right. So,
Who's that?
I know, Remy. Okay. So, sorry, y'all. It's like I said, summertime is crazy because my kids aren't in bed as early, and so we just got me. Elijah Elijah Lee Parker. Seriously, get upstairs. All right.
How you missed my middle name up in my head?
So I want to go over what there's so much that came out today. So let's go over what we initially heard, guys, of the initial timeline. Was that here's a list of some things that we heard at the beginning. The door was propped open by the teacher. Only a couple of police have arrived. Hey, MJ's life. Only a couple of police. Tia, I'm no doubt. That's what I said. My lives are going to be. Only a couple of police arrived 4 minutes after. The shooter was barricaded in a classroom. 911 calls were never relayed to the chief. He was in charge. They were waiting for more guys. They were waiting for tactical gear. They were waiting for rifles. And the door to the classroom was locked. They had to wait for a key. Now, let's go over what we've learned since then. And then we will actually dig into several articles and a few of the. I want to get to that one guy we listened to earlier. No, so Savannah, let me tell you what happened there. So, thank you for bringing that up. This gets us to timeline. All right. We know that Ramos said to this chick from Germany that he was talking to, or one of the states, countries, I don't know, he had like several. We also need to, I want to backtrack for a second. We need to go back to the red flags that were missed, okay? Old Ramos boy, he had been. Tia, here's where our red flag thing comes into play. He had been basically truant from school since his sophomore year. He had been a handful of times to school. It was also discovered that it was never reported to law enforcement when Ramos came with a sack of cats. He was into animal cruelty and things of that nature. So we're going to break this down. This is allegedly what happened was he was sleeping on his grandmother's sofa for the last 3 or 4 months, whatever. Friday before the shooting, Ramos' grandma allegedly sees the bag, sees the one AR that he had bought. I know, Jen, right? Oh, and by the way, on Yubo, he was constantly reported for telling women that girls that he was going to come. Oh, thank you. I always forget that. Thank you, Jen. Assault them and hurt them. You know what he did. Uh, so then she found the weapon, said he had to remove it, so he left, allegedly. Allegedly, he came back Sunday. She didn't know he came back with not only that one gun, but a second gun. All right. Right before 11:21, he tells this chick he's talking to online that he's going to go kill his grandmother, but he had to wait for his grandfather to leave the house. And as he said, he did that. At 11:21, right after he shot his grandmother, he went back up. He went back up or wherever he was in his room and said, "I'm going to or I just did it. I'm now going to go shoot an elementary school." Ramos did not have a driver's license. Apparently, because he couldn't correctly make a turn. So, Savannah, that's a good question. He left willingly that Friday. It's now that part is hearsay of what went down, so I'm not sure if that's correct, but several sources have said that's what happened. She thought when he came back that he came back empty-handed. What has been said was that they were fighting over the phone bill and that she wanted him to get his own phone line. Again, I don't know if that's true. So apparently Salvador couldn't make a turn, so he crashes his vehicle. This is at like 11:21. He's now left the house. He gets out of the car, the passenger side, and starts shooting. And we'll watch a little bit of it. Starts shooting at the funeral home, misses those two guys. He then we're gonna go to the guy on the thing, but let me fill you in on what we've learned since then, and then we'll get into the rest of the timeline. So what we've learned, I just shared with you what the original information we heard, right? And since these hearings, now that we've learned, there was two cars of officers with AR-15s that had a chance to shoot him outside. They said that they did not take the shot because they were worried about hitting students. Now, we've talked about this. He shot back at them, so my theory is, it says when he shot back at them, they ducked behind the patrol car, but he really wasn't shooting back at them. He was shooting at the funeral home people. What I think happened was that they never came from behind the patrol car again, because if they had, he was near the parking lot. For some reason, he gets out of his truck. I mean, I've studied this all day. Gets out of his truck, has a book bag. For some reason, he drops the book bag in the parking lot. That's interesting to me because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But whatever. For whatever reason, he drops the book bag. He only has one weapon with him. He drops his book bag in the parking lot. They still don't know the reason for that. The door was not propped open. However, it was shut, but it did not lock. It's also, we know, based on what we heard today, it was not uncommon for that door to be unlocked or to be propped. Safety 101. One thing about the doors to mention too is that they did say that those doors were really funky, and sometimes you would think they were locked, and then they weren't locked. Okay, so the other things we've learned, and then we're going to listen to the guy give the timeline, is we have learned that the officers were in fact in the school within 3 minutes of the shooter. One had a ballistic shield and two had the AR-15s. Two of them had AR-15s and one had a ballistic shield and an AR-15. 11 officers were inside within 3 minutes. Arredondo tried talking to the shooter through the wall. Arredondo didn't have his radio, so he called from a landline. He claims now that he didn't know he was in charge. We know that part.
Mommy.
Hey, Lynn. Sorry, 1 second. He wants Call of Duty Modern Warfare for $60, and he thinks that might be a problem with me. It's a problem. So here's what we uncovered. Good question, Tia. Good question. What it turns out today is that no police officer, and let me say that again. The room 112, one of the rooms that basically Reyes's room was locked or was not locked because the lock plate of that room was broken. Those rooms could only be locked from the outside. We were told that the door was locked. They were waiting on the key. They did wait for a key. However, no one ever went to the door, Yellen, to tell if the door was locked for 1 hour and 14 minutes. You're exactly correct, Remy. None of the classroom doors were locked. It gets better. The shooter, keep in mind, y'all, these cops knew the door. No, Remy, good night, Punkette. Take care. Yes, you don't need to break the Punkette. Know your limits. Good job. The door. Okay. So we know, right? I want you to listen to this carefully, that the door to the classroom can only be locked from the outside. The shooter came out into the hall from the classroom, exactly, Savannah, to the hall, back into the classroom 2 times. They watched him go back into the classroom. They watched him come out into the hallway. They watched him never lock a door. They said they were waiting on a key. The custodian said you could have easily shot through the window. Now, we've gone back and forth with that because you could, whatever. 12:46 is finally when Pete Arredondo says, if y'all are ready, go ahead. I want to tell you something that I just learned too a little bit ago. Remember Officer Ruiz, sorry about his name. Hey, Amber. The husband of the teacher. Exactly, Solo. That is exactly why I'm going to place on this video. This one guy was on point, and he says, "Oh, no, this was the sheriff that says this. This was not a lack of equipment. This was a lack of commitment. The sheriff said, one of the sheriffs said he got home that night. He wasn't even there, but he got home from work, and his wife looked at him because he was in Austin or something and said, I am glad to see you, but I want you to know he's been a police officer for 37 years and they've been married for 35. She said, I want you to know that if that ever happens, I will fully expect you to sacrifice yourself for those kids. So Mrs. Morales was the teacher that bled out, and we know that. She died in the ambulance. Uh, this is terrible. Brace yourself. Her husband was in the hallway. Hold on, this one gets me. When he found out she was shot and bleeding, but alive, he ran to get to her in the hallway where he was. That just came out tonight, True Crime, Brandy, where he was tackled, detained, and removed. He tried to get to her. Let me just look this up. And had they let him go, let me read you exactly what happened with that because it was pretty. Hey, Pamela. He No, Brandy, that was Garcia. Um, Mrs. Morales was the one that actually charged the shooter. So McCraw also revealed the husband of slain elementary teacher Eva Morales, identified as Uvalde CISD police officer Ruben Ruiz, tried to save her, but officers in the school prevented him to do so. McCraw said the teacher called her husband shortly after the gunman attacked her classroom and told him she had been shot and she was dying. Ruiz then tried to run forward in the hallway. He was detained. They took his gun from him and they escorted him off the scene and then removed him from school grounds. And for the rest of the rest of that man's life, he has to remember that he couldn't get to his wife. Hey, Save Robbie. There's no. I know, Solo. I know. I am dumbfounded. I can't even like. I know, Remy. Hey, Salem. They said if they had breached the door, it would have Probably been over in 3 minutes. Oh, the desperation he must have felt. I want to watch a little bit of the chief dissecting the timeline now for anybody that didn't see it earlier, just a bit of it, because I do think it's important. I thought I had it pulled up. Oh, this is my stream from earlier, so oh wait, what did I just do? Brandy, it's okay. You saw some of this, but for those who didn't see a lot of it, because I know a lot of people were exactly love my Charlie Faith. All right. This is my live from earlier, so if you hear me talking,
you'll see what's going to happen. And he's in
I just
communication
want you
many
guys to hear
times,
this
been
part because it's
messaging and
going to
earlier
dissect
FaceTime with
the time
with
frame.
a 15-year-old juvenile, and it was in Germany at the time, and told her,
Exactly.
and, quote, I'm going to shoot my grandma in the head. And later, I just shot my grandma in the head, and I'm going to go shoot up an elementary school. That was at 11:21.
No problem, Lynn. It's a tough topic.
11:21.
Thank you for coming.
And with your permission, Chairman, I'd like to go to the timeline. And these events are taken from
This
audio,
is huge.
video, body camera, 911 tapes. And so it's not subject to interpretation. It's simply subject to transcription.
Again, if you're joining us, this is that was my live, so I can stream it. Steve McCraw.
And you have a copy of the timeline in front of you. And I'll begin on page 1.
He is giving the official timeline. This is the interview with this investigation with the Senate.
And I'll try to quickly go through them. 11:28, and I'm going to round off the times. I'm not going to say the seconds, but I'll do it in order. The suspect crashes his vehicle into a ditch. Okay, this was at the intersection of Goss and Gerardine, in front of the school and in front of a funeral home. The subject didn't have a driver's license. The subject couldn't drive. And when he did drive, he was described as having problems with taking a turn. So people wonder, why, crashing like he did when he also attempted to turn, almost left, but then crashes into a ditch, a concrete ditch and right in front of the school. If he's really going to the school, to do something, what's his destination? Well, his destination was Robb Elementary School. There's no question about it. He did crash. Once he crashed, 2 miles from the funeral home, went out to see how he was.
This is
and
live.
At that point, that was 11:29. We heard a teacher. This teacher was inside the school, by the way. The teacher, was observant enough inside the school. She calls 911 and reports a man with a gun. That was 11:29. 11:31, the suspect began shooting between the suspect had shot at the individuals that came from the funeral home. Now he left 3 rounds. He shot 3 times at him, missed them. One of the individuals got up, and they continued on, and of course reported that later.
That's later than we thought.
11:31.
I know.
The suspect begins shooting.
No,
at
just
the
Carrie.
school.
This is me playing this
There's
part earlier for
classrooms in the West
timeline.
Building. If we have it, the diagram on my left here, you can see. This right here is.
I wanted you guys to see
the DS
this.
Street location, and you can see the west entrance. And if your permission, if I can stand up, Chairman, to be able to point that out. Okay, this is Diaz Street. Diaz Street's up here, 0.29 miles around. This is Goss Street. This is Jardine Street. This is the funeral home I talked about. This is where he crashed, right here. The crash location. He was trying to make the turn here and crashed. It was his grandmother's pickup truck that he crashed in. He climbed out on the passenger side and took with him 1 rifle. He took with him his backpack at that point. That's when he shot at, when I described the time he shot at those 2 individuals, ran back to the funeral home. Then he situates himself, he moves to a fence The fence is approximately 4 feet, throws the bag over, jumps
Hey,
over the
SA.
fence, and proceeds in this direction. And the red on your chart is the direction that the subject is moving. As he moves into this area, once he's in this, as he moves along this area, he gets into this area right here. He begins shooting, okay? As he's been shooting into the classrooms is what he's doing. He's initially right here, and on the timeline, if I go back up to the timeline, you note that he's 3 Uvalde PD officers.
That's different than I thought.
Let me- yeah, higher
We're
up.
just going over this for timeline again.
In fact, he shot 27 times as he proceeded, as he walked along here. He dropped the backpack here for no apparent reason. He
That
was situated
still
right
don't
here
understand that.
among cars. There was cars at the time. And as he walked, he shot into these classrooms. There's 2 classrooms. There's actually 4, but 2 he shot into. There's 4 windows, 2
Hey,
windows on
Delaney.
each. He was firing into those classrooms. He proceeded to the west building, or the west entrance.
Oh,
of the
Emily,
building. What
yeah.
we're calling the west, we're calling this
I do
east.
eventually
The
stop
west
talking.
is south.
Emily, yeah, it's bad.
Proceeded in there. He opened the door. It was open. It was unlocked. There were reports before about a teacher putting a rock in it. That's a practice around the school, practice in many schools. Yes, that did happen, but that teacher, that same teacher also removed the rock. It was the same teacher that called 911 and reported a man with a gun outside the school and the crash. He also called the alarm.
Ammo,
when the
Jackie.
school goes into a lockdown, active shooter. And they immediately, they get the kids, and I won't go through the protocols, you know, but they did what they were supposed to do in that regard. And one of those things is to lock the interior doors to the classrooms where the kids are at, lower the lights, and put them in a particular area the furthest away
Sleuth
from the
mom,
windows,
yeah, the
furthest away from
lies
the door
are.
as possible.
I agree with you both.
As the teachers were trying to protect the kids throughout the entire campus, he entered the west building here. Now, I can tell you from the door aspect, we can discuss the door a little bit later. You may have questions on it. But it was open as he walked in. Thanks.
Dang, Remy, even more so.
This is where he is. Red indicates the subject.
Delaney,
walked
this is
in
live
20
investigation.
feet.
Yep, this is
When you walk into this corridor, this east-west hallway,
the head of
and he's in the
DPS,
north-south hallway,
Steve
he
McCraw.
turns left, and he approaches, and you can't tell from the video. The challenge with the school video is it's a fisheye video located at this location.
Absolutely,
A
Rody
little
Gale.
different than the video that we had at Santa Fe. So the view is very distorted. You can't see all the way to here, and you certainly can't see very far over here.
Yeah, Sleuth
The
mom,
first
there's so
iteration.
much
The second
BS.
iteration
Yeah,
got a
you're
little bit
right,
better.
Joe.
When it's sent back to Quantico, be enhanced or enhanced the second time, you can see much of what's going on. It provided a much clearer way for us to document exactly what happened in that
Did
hallway.
he just say this
over
went
that
to
1 hour,
Quantico?
14 minutes and
Wow.
8 seconds. The subject lines up here. What you can't see, it's inset in here. What you can't see is which classroom he's shooting into exactly. But he's shooting at either 111 or 112 initially. Overall, there was 24 rounds that were left recovered out here, 27 in the hallway. Now, some of those rounds could have been, when we're evacuating,
Sleuth
as
mom, you
first
know
responders
that's
are
huge.
evacuating trying to save lives, could have drugged some of those rounds out there. But for right now, it appears when we finish with the trajectory analysis, we'll be able to tell you how many exactly were fired by the subject into that room and how many were fired out by the subject. But right
I
now,
know some of you have heard this. I just wanted to, I want you to hear the timeline
only
as we
shooting
know
was
it
not
now.
in this direction, it was in this direction here. He walked up the door, he opened the door and walked in. Okay, then we heard shooting. As the timeline suggests, and
Hey,
through
Vicky.
audio enhancement, we can hear how many shots were fired. The initial barrage of firing occurred within 100 rounds, occurred within the next couple of minutes. So you can go up on the timeline here. Again, shooting at the classroom 111, 112. He enters to 11:33. So we're talking about 32 seconds after he enters, because he entered
Hey, Punksy.
West building at 11:33. So the crash is 11:28, enters the building at 11:33, or 11:33 exactly, and 11:33 in seconds. Again, shooting at the classroom, then he enters into what we believe is 111.
I know, Remy.
I say believe. Okay, at this time, 111, and they begin shooting. If you go over your
Eventually, they
timeline,
asked him to put the.
look at, you'll see more than 100 rounds were fired initially. Another 11 rounds were
I'll be
fired
frank.
at 11:37.
Oh my
Okay?
God.
And
Y'all, I'll be
two
frank is
officers
kidding.
that the rooms, the walls inside the interior are sheetrock and bullets go through. The two were grazed at that point, retreated. I can tell you at 11:36, as we mentioned before, you had 3 Uvalde PD officers into the west door. 11:35, 11:36, 2, and 2 Uvalde PD officers.
Amber.
7 officers right now in the building at 11:36. That's pretty quick time, considering all the different factors in that regard.
11:36.
Resource
Those
officer
officers
on
come
the
in.
scene. A school resource officer did respond. When he responded,
I'll be frank.
he responded to the location.
Exactly, Solo.
He heard a man with a gun. So he's off campus. He's in his vehicle. He responds
Oh,
rapidly.
listen to this,
As he
guys.
does, he sees what he thinks when he drives in. He sees what he thinks is the subject back here. It wasn't the subject, it was a teacher.
Ugh.
He drives directly towards that subject, the teacher, and says, "I'm out with the subject." So it had already been reported on the radio, man with a gun, okay, at the school, after a crash. He thinks he's got the subject. He drives quickly. He drove, over 50 miles an hour into it, going towards the subject.
Hey, Brandy.
And unfortunately, that wasn't the
Absolutely,
subject. The subject was
Savannah.
right here. He passed the subject as he went.
Keep in
That's why
mind,
some
we believe
confusion
the
early on.
resource officer was, it
This
is
is-
alleged it was Eva Morales' husband. So
In case you don't know, this was my live from earlier that I'm playing when I live streamed this. So right now we're up. So if you hear my voice, it's actually from earlier's live. We're up to about 11:36, I believe. The officers have come in, and now we're getting to the rest of it. Yeah, Remy, that hasn't been explained yet.
oh, God bless him.
Now, the doctrine for active shooters is clear. I mentioned before. And it's 2
Hey,
sets
Jill.
of it. Hey, you stop
They
the
can
killing.
hear you. Go
stop the dying.
upstairs now.
The other part of that doctrine is you isolate, you distract, and you neutralize. Everyone's taught this. You require it in T-Cole
Hey, Shay.
You practice it.
Thanks,
you preach
Emily.
it. This is the doctrine, and it recognizes that you run to the sound of gunfire. When you get to gunfire, you don't stop. Okay, when you get there, you run into gunfire. Okay, and it's so important to do so. And I'll tell you what, I've said it before, and I hope I've underscored it. There's no doubt in my mind that those officers would have gone. Any one of them would sacrifice their lives for those children. Any one of them, if they knew there was kids in that room that were.
Yeah, but it was not the doctor I wanted.
Those police officers.
Bull crap. Bull.
11:40.
11:40 we're up to now.
11:40, we have chief. First report, officers contained in the office. Contained is not a word for active shooter. Contained is a barricaded subject. Contained is
11:40
a
they're saying active
situation where you may have
shooter
a hostage,
is
you
detained.
need a SWAT team. Okay, you have time. The C's, first you contain, then you communicate with the subject, then you call for SWAT, then you create an immediate action plan. That's not what this was. This was never anything more than an active shooter situation. But at some point, he's contained the officer. Then we have Chief Ariano calls Uvalde PD. It has been reported he did not have a radio with him. He did not.
I know, Amber.
That's actually true. That was correct report. And this is the conversation that he had.
I know, right, Punkette?
And you can read it yourself in your notes. All this for the purposes of this. Chief Ariano. Hey, it's Ariano.
Pay attention to this.
I'd like to tell you where we're at. It's an emergency right now. I'm inside the building. But this man has an AR-15.
Somebody eventually tells him to be louder.
We're inside the building. He's in a one room. I need a lot of firepower. So I need this building surrounded with as many AR-15s as possible. Can you hear me? The dispatch responded. Can be heard talking in the background and asking what room number. Chief, is the teacher with him? Is she in the room as he's in? Can you hear him? Ma'am? Ma'am?
I know, Remy.
I'm right here. Chief, ma'am, is the teacher with him in his classroom? Dispatcher, she's in another classroom. She's in room 102. Another person possible shot across from her. Wasn't 102, it was 112. Is the accurate number. Chief Arianda, okay, we have him in the room. He's got an AR-15. He's shot a lot. He's in the room. He hasn't come out yet. We're surrounded, but I don't have
Hey,
a radio with
Jameson.
me. Please let all units know he's going to be in a room. He's in room 111 or 112, and we're in here. I'm in the hallway. Sergeant, another sergeant are here. We need this place surrounded, and if you have SWAT, I need them to set up south side of the building, which is the nearest location to the funeral home. Dispatcher confirms SWAT location. Chief Ariando, yes. They need to be outside the building.
Let's go past that part because I posted that there.
Very careful, and you'll find when you talk to the experts in the alert training program, is self-deploying is a risk. Deciding who's in charge, deciding it on your own to take action without it being properly coordinated is a risk. It's one of the challenges you have in these type of situations. But nevertheless, in terms of if you're going to issue commands, okay, if you're going to direct action, you're the ranking official from the agency that has jurisdiction, you're the on-scene commander. Gunfire happens again at 11:40. Let's assume that was a barricaded subject who was contained. Well, he fires again. And he's room 111 or 112. It's not reasonable to expect that there's children and teachers in that room still
Exactly.
alive.
Oh, it's not reasonable? Well, then it's not reasonable.
1141, Uvalde PD officer. We believe that he's barricaded in one of the offices. They're still shooting. More misinformation. He's not barricaded in an office. Okay, he's in a classroom 111 and 112. Dispatch asks if his door is locked, to which a Uvalde PD officer replies, I'm not sure. We have a hooligan to break it. The hooligan tool, so you can just break the lock and move in at the door. At 11:41, 4 first responders in the room, the east hallway. You got 2 constables, a fire marshal, and UPD officer. So officers continue to flood into the particular area. So we had 11 to begin with. We've had another 4 officers to it.
Oh, they were, Remy.
Was the first DPS officer to arrive. At 11.
Director McCraw, we've got to ask you this
Yes.
Here we go.
best you can, speak into the mic
Oh, yes, sir. I apologize.
so the system can pick it up. If you
Yes,
could
sir.
pick that mic up, that would be
Yes, sir.
great.
3 times.
How about
3
that, sir? Does
times
that work?
now. They
Thank-
just said
Very
3
good.
times.
Thank you, Chairman.
He came out in the hallway 3 times.
At 11:42, we had a DPS trooper and 2 PD officers enter from the east
I
hallway.
was just released like just now.
She was there less than 2 minutes, looked around because at that point in time, there's multiple officers, and she left the building to find other duties as assigned.
Yep, Remy.
11:44, another suspect fired around. 11:44 later, UPD officers have some officers there.
The
available to get
classroom, Remy,
everybody
into
back.
the hall 3 times.
UCISD officer Ruben Reese. And one of our sergeants, Sergeant Maldonado, actually drove Officer Reese to the scene. He enters at that point in time.
Oh, that's her husband.
And unknown officers, they need to get out of the hallway. Well, before I need to talk about Officer Ruiz. He notes that she's been shot. He's talking about his wife. He got a call from his wife.
Oh,
His wife was in room 112 and later died. Unknown officer says they need to get out of the hallway, to which an officer responds, Chief is in there. Chief is in charge right now. Hold on. 11:51, 7 Border Patrol agents enter the west door. There had been a call earlier for BORTAC, and BORTAC was en route. These aren't BORTAC agents that first responded. At 11:52, there's a first ballistic shield that enters the west door. At 11:52 later, UPD officers, units just showing up. Can you help with crowd control? So officers after 11:52 are being diverted to crowd control activities. 11:53, unknown officer informs a DPS special agent that they need right now is a perimeter. Someone comments on whether there are still kids inside, to which the DPS special agent responds, if there is, then they just need to go in. Someone comments about whether there are still kids, in which he responds, if there is, then just need to go in. He enters the west building and is directed on where the suspect is focused on. This is from a body camera, and you'll note that any information that I'm using right now, it came from, it's color coded. So when it's blue, it's body camera. Obviously, from video surveillance, it's either whether it's funeral home and indicated, and of course
Yeah,
the
crowd
Uvalde
control,
PD
you know,
recordings
'cause
as well.
they're at a concert.
And you have that in your booklet. After some time, the DPS officer, said, "Is there kids in there? We need to go in right now." Then he said, "What's that?" Then whoever's in charge will determine that, because of what he recommended, if there's kids in there, we need to go get them. And then later on, the DPS agent, he left the scene to look for kids, found a young boy in the restroom
Finally, a
in the
police
west building
officer that
that
was
was
like,
hiding,
"I'm going in. I want to go
and then
in."
went outside to look at search other classrooms. There's a PD channel recording. Again, it's critical that let the PD take the point. 11:58, after an unknown officer was asked where the shooter is, another unknown officer advises the school chief of police is in there with him. There's a 911 call at 12:03, and that's the call from Chloe, the first time Chloe calls. And of course, it's
Chloe was the
heart-wrenching
1203.
to listen to her. She's in room 112, okay? She was actually the only child in room 12 that was uninjured. Okay, there was 8 children killed, 2 teachers killed in that room. And of course, she was uninjured. 9 children were injured in room 112.
I know, rebellious.
12:03, the second ballistic shield enters the west door. 12:04, the third ballistic shield enters the west door, and yet there's no action. 12:09, PD officer, go around and get the master keys to the room.
1209.
Elements of the VORTAC arriving at the elementary school was at 12:09 or 12:10, and I think the first VORTAC unit members went into the building at 12:15.
So at 1209, they decided, I'm going to grab a key.
During that time, the Uvalde ISD Ariano requests the master key. Uvalde ISD Chief Ariano gives instructions to officers to have a sniper on the east roof. Master key, there's more than one master key for the west building. Anytime the locks were changed, there was another master key for that lock. So you may find a master key, but there's 2 master keys. You've got to get both master keys. So there was some frustration in the discussion about this master key doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work because that master key is not for that door. (12:16), USC chief says, "I just need a key." The chief
Right,
says,
Remy?
"Tell them to expletive wait. No one comes in." 12:20, the fourth ballistic shield shows up. At 12:21, importantly, the suspect fires 4 rounds. So if this is a barricaded subject, why is he still firing?
Amen.
Oh, thank you. The chief says at 12:28, let me back up to 12:21. Can you get a breaching tool like a trailer house, like for a trailer house? The chief, we've lost 2 kids. These walls are thin. If he starts shooting, we're going to lose more kids. I have to say, we have to put those to the side right now.
One thing I want to say about that is that was later addressed and actually asked by a couple different people of committee members questioning that statement, because that's a little bit odd. They said the walls are thin, 2 are gone, we need to put them aside right now. That is a statement that's been brought up a couple times and asked a question each time. McCraw says that he does not know that it's better answered by so and so or some that we haven't heard from yet.
Uvalde chief attempts to communicate with a suspect in English and Spanish. Now, the entire communications was always one way. The suspect never communicated, so it was not communication. We're talking at. But an officer, there's a teacher shot in there, to which the Uvalde PD officer replies, I know.
Oh,
Chief, people are going to ask why we're taking so long. We're trying to preserve the rest of the life. The chief, do we have a team ready to go? Do we have a team ready to go? Have at it. It's at 12:27. 12:28, the chief. There's a window over there. Obviously, the door is probably going to be locked. Probably going to be locked. That is the nature of this place. I'm going to get some more keys to test. 12:28, the chief. These master keys are working here, bro.
I didn't catch that the first time. The doors are probably going to be locked. Wow.
Aren't working here, bro. We have master keys and they're not working.
Oh my.
The chief at 12:30. Okay, we've cleared out everything except for that room. We still have people down. They're just past the flag to the right. But we're ready to breach, but that door is locked. 12:33.
Remy.
The chief. I say we breach through those windows and shoot his expletive head off through the windows. This is an hour and a half, an hour after you enter the building. An hour after you enter the building. 11:35, a hooligan tool arrives through the west door. At 12:38, the chief attempts to communicate with the suspect in English and Spanish.
Oh my freaking gosh.
At 12:41, the chief says, just so you understand, we think there are some injuries in there. And so you know what we did, we cleared off the rest of the building so we wouldn't have any more besides what's already in there, obviously. 11:42, the chief says, we have an expletive problem getting into the room because it's locked. He's got an AR-15 and he's shooting everywhere like crazy, so he stopped. 12:43, Uvalde chief, they got to get that expletive door open, bro. They can't get that door open. We need more keys or something.
Oh my.
12:46, the chief says, if y'all ready to do it, you do it. Well, you should distract him out that window. 11:47, the sledgehammer enters from the east hallway. 11:50, the breach and termination gunfire. At the time, there was a stack of 7 officers that went in. Actually, only 4 went directly in because the door closed, as will happen in some of these operations, and left the 3 out. 3 entered thereafter, shortly thereafter. 5 officers fired rounds, fired rounds at the subject, killing the subject at that time. Chairman, that concludes the timeline. And of course, I know that you may have some questions on it. Could have been locked. This glass doesn't have mesh on it. All you have to do is shoot through this glass. Okay, reach in. There's a bar. Well, here's a bar. Pull that and you're in. Now, the subject would have known that. He would have known it. And the same thing, these panes are also vulnerability.
Yeah, anybody can look at that and tell it'd be easy to take a gun and shoot holes in it and reach it around.
Yes, sir.
But the first question was, the lock was functioning correctly?
The lock was functioning correctly and the door was unlocked.
Oh
It was
my.
closed but unlocked.
I just want you to hear
I
this
thought
part.
when it closed, it was supposed to automatically lock.
Well, you can set it to two sections, and it's similar to the actual door on the interior as well. You can turn it all the way one direction. It's unlocked. You can turn it another direction, and it's in the lock.
Okay,
position.
so the latch was working functionally
Yes, sir.
well. It was just turned in a position when you close it, it doesn't lock.
Exactly. Someone did not lock that door.
Okay.
And similarly, the south door, which I described officers going in early on, that door was unlocked as well.
Second thing, okay, you may have just said what I was fixing to ask, but the classroom door, was it locked or not locked?
The classroom door, if we can get a picture of it,
I just wanted you to see this part.
We've
I
got
think this one is probably the best example to, if you don't mind. This isn't the
No, they
actual
didn't,
door.
Remy.
Well, this shouldn't really, this is the actual door, but we don't really want to use that.
Look at the actual
This
door.
is what,
That's
this
what
is
we
what
want to use.
127 and 126, that's what 111, this 112 and 111 would look like in that regard. And here's the door. You cannot lock this door from the inside of the classroom. There's nothing the teacher could do to lock the door inside the classroom. The teacher can come outside the classroom as the requirement is to lock the door with a key, only with a key, and this right here by turning it, you know, and the lock position. And I can actually have the door of another. This came from the west building, one of the doors right here, and I can demonstrate that if you'd like at this time, Mr. Chairman.
So the teacher could not even lock the classroom door from the inside?
That's correct. There's no way to lock the door from the inside, and there's no way for the subject to lock the door from the inside.
I know, Jen, right?
We had heard reports that the lock was malfunctioning, that they had turned in a request for the lock to be fixed. Is that all fictitious or?
We had a locksmith inspect the lock and the strike plate. The lock was functional. The strike plate was not. What's not happening is, so as you can see on this door here, is that, yes, the lock was working as it was designed, but if it doesn't, if the through doesn't get into the strike plate, it may be locked, but it's not secure. You can just open it. And that's, you know, so it can be the lock position, ironically, in the locked position or unlocked position, and it's still unsecured and can be opened.
Okay, so there was never a request to have a lock fixed?
There was evidence that the requests were made about that lock based on an interview with the teacher and also some reports that we found of submissions to have it fixed.
So a teacher thought the lock was broken?
Yes, the teacher was convinced it was unlocked and it was broken and reported it earlier.
And was that request made like days before the shooting or weeks or months?
I think I can't say. I'd have to go back and get the exact timeline. I don't have that right now. Chairman, I'll get that back to you in the committee, exactly what days that were requested that they would be fixed.
On the officer's radio, you know, I heard he went in without his radio, then he obviously was requesting his radio.
Yes, sir.
But I was told later, or maybe by you or someone else, that the radio would not actually function inside the school.
Yes, sir.
Because it did not have the strength to reach out of the school.
Yes, sir. We conducted a threat and vulnerability assessment of the site while we had control of the school. And our DPS special agents brought in our communications team, and we conducted tests of everybody's portable radio, Uvalde PD, Sheriff's Office, Border Patrol, DPS, everybody's portable radio in that west building. And the only portable radios that worked in that west building were Border Patrols. Okay?
Sure is,
And
Remy.
they're the only ones that worked.
All right, so we've got
Yeah, he does,
a
Joe.
police school officer whose radio will not work inside the school.
That's correct. Yes, sir. And nor would the PDs, okay? So if they're responding to assist, nor would the sheriff's office if they're responding to assist, and nor will DPS officers if they're responding to assist. The Border Patrol has a station there in Uvalde, and that's why they had so many agents in the area. And of course, they've got a stronger, you know, boost on their particular tower. I can tell you that even when we take Border Patrol and we were able to link them and patch them all together, then even Border Patrol's radios didn't work.
Okay. I've got Senator Zaffarini raise her hand first. Senator
Okay.
Zaffarini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Colonel McGraw, you talked about different states.
Okay, then. So yeah, like Jill said, it's just complete. Yeah, I mean, she was in the second part of that, and the rest of it is on the channel as well. And it's a lot of that. And then couple of women really start to give him heat. But then when the two men, when they've all had enough is enough, and they just really start to grill him. And a couple of the Senate guys are like, why is, we would like it if the chief actually came here. The chief should have never been the chief. He is a hot mess. I wanted to show you something that was just revealed too. The flyer was exposed that was, I just found this, March 21st, 2022 at Uvalde School. Active shooter for school-based law enforcement. Active shooter preparedness. From 8 a.m. to 5 a.m. March 21st, 2022. They had active preparedness, readiness training for 8 hours. They waited 77 minutes for a key or a door that was unlocked. Who knows, just Carrie? First of all, yeah, I mean, the police chief was a hot mess. I will say, we do need to pray because on Saturday there is a protest planned. It's supposed to be massive at Uvalde Town Square, calling for Arredondo's resignation. The town doesn't need any more casualties, so I'm praying that it's peaceful. Yeah, like they never even went to the door. 3 minutes. And the whole thing could have been over. Did you guys catch what he said? Nope, Remy. In fact, he won't respond to any requests for interview or respond to being interviewed with the Senate right here. And they go on, a couple senators go on to really express their frustration at the fact that he is nowhere to be found. He has said nothing. He has an attorney already. Right now he's just basically skipping council meetings and stuff. Like he just 3 minutes and it could have been stopped. Like I don't even. Yeah, it's exactly that, Jill. He's hiding. Oh, he's hiding. This is what I was gonna say. When the head of the police association or something was talking to the Senate here towards the end, they said, "Look, we do not condone what happened to George Floyd. We do not condone that. There was charges brought up to the police officer, as there should have been. We do not condone that, and we do not condone what just happened now with the way the chief handled it either. And so what repercussions are going to be brought?" So I mean, there are people, excuse me, pushing for some sort of repercussions for this. He was at some meeting in Austin today, and that's what I heard. I mean, you can tell, or there was a couple officers that I have that like the one said about 20 minutes after the shooting started, one of the officers said, according to the body camera, said, "Look, if there's kids in there, we just need to go in." And then another said, "Is there still kids in that classroom?" And then another officer said, "You all don't know if there's kids in there. If there's kids in there, we just need to get in." And then someone who has yet to have been identified said, "Whoever is in charge will determine that." The other thing that's very interesting, and I do want this addressed, um, because of the fact of the police, and he was asked several times and constantly like went on, and when the police said, "We've lost 2 kids, we need to put them aside and move on," like, it's insane. Yeah, so he should no longer be chief for sure. And I can't even like, had they probably let that guy whose husband, or let the husband go into the room, it would have probably been over. So we're talking that 4 people went in, 4 I'm sorry, y'all, but so 7 people went in finally at 12:46 to go into the classroom, right? The door shut on the door shut on 3 of them, so only 4 got into the classroom. Do y'all remember how many police officers go back to that 11:36 or whatever, 3 minutes after, when there was 4 officers initially, and then within a matter of like 2 minutes there was like 11, and they felt like they were overpowered, but in the end, only 4 got into the shooter and killed him. It does, Salem. It does, and I don't know if I'm saying your name right. I'm so sorry. Um, to me, like, I understand, right? We can't say what we would do because we've never been in that situation. But they took an oath to protect. They took an oath to protect. He came out in the hallway 3 times. 3 times. Like, at the end of the day, a majority of them weren't willing to put their life on the line. And let's be real, they had plenty of technical gear at that point to protect themselves. Like, they were hearing children dying. They knew one of their fellow police officers' wife's wife was in there dying. Like, where's your okay, brotherhood, whatever you call it, that we back each other, blah blah blah. He was in there dying. She was in there dying, and you detained him and took him off of the property. Like, no, there's no excuses. And that's what the one guy, the one senator says in this. There's no excuses whatsoever. So you know what? Do you guys remember Reyes's, the teacher's testimony when he said the little girl was saying, we're in here. Please help, officers, please help." They did know they were out there. I know, Jill. They did an interview with one of the fathers, and he couldn't even look up. He just said, and I'll try to find it, one of the fathers to, after the video was released last night, or the little screenshot, whatever, of the first image. And he couldn't even look up. He just has his head down and he's just shaking it. And he's like, I don't understand why they were such cowards. Like, I don't. I tell you what, if I was that cop that they detained and my wife, I knew she bled out, I'd be suing them for everything they've got. Oh, really, Brandy? It's, and I mean, let's not even talk about the red flags missed from over the years. Like, holy cow. I'm, I don't know why there's a couple weird things. Like, why did he drop the book bag in the parking lot? Like, it's just, when we heard just the brief things that we've heard from the police chief, like, I have never heard a chief in any of these type of situations that was in charge well, talk like that over the, um, like a complete panic, like as a leader, you have to, and that's what the one senator was saying, like, this guy is not a leader. No one was in charge because you, like, he caused half the chaos. Meanwhile, they're outside acting like we're at a concert for crowd control, tasing a mother. Oh, yeah, exactly, Solo. And now they're all fighting. So Uvalde mayor is mad at DPS because he said that they're throwing Uvalde police department under the bus, and DPS is saying Uvalde's not cooperating. So now, like, they're just going back and forth about whose fault was it, when really they all really messed up. Yeah, like, there's times, right, where you can say, like, yeah, I get it, you messed up or whatever, but this isn't one that is okay with just, like, saying, oh, I messed up. Exactly, Salem. Exactly, Amber. I mean, we've tried. We've been in this process together. It's not an easy, like, for real. There's people that had, like, Lynn, Punkette. This affects people, and I'm glad that they use self-care. Hey, we'll come back tomorrow and we'll catch the replay. But, like, this stuff, we've been on this journey watching this, and each day we've all tried to have, like, think, oh, this is it. What, it's got to get better. It's got to get better. And then every day it gets worse. Exactly, rebellious. Exactly. Exactly, Jill. None of those kids are going to ever be the same. The teacher, I mean, no one's ever going to be the same. Reyes, he's never going to teach again. I mean, maybe he will after some healing, but it'll be a long time. He lost a, his entire classroom of kids. He was the only one that survived. He had 11 in his classroom, 11 in the auditorium picture, and all 11 of them died. Like, I will tell you what, though, it's gone. If it's gone to Quantico, yeah, that's big. Like, this boy, this chief or whatever you want to call him, he should probably start talking pretty soon. Exactly, Brandy, exactly. Like, this is, yeah, Amber, we tried. We tried not to jump to conclusions. We tried so hard. And every day more lies come out, and like it just pours. It just hurts over and over because at this Uvalde City Council meeting, right, where they said they were denying the leave of absence of the chief. Um, exactly, Brandy. They're looking real deep. They're really, really looking deep. um, the they said one civilian stood up and he said, "We want answers and we want them now." And like these, so it stinks. It's a horrible topic, and I encourage you to step away when it gets to be too much because even I have to step away. These today and tomorrow are huge days because this is going to be the only pretty much that they're going to allow us to um, hear these interviews, and also now we're going to start to see video. I know, Jill. I know. I know. That's the thing. We wanted to so bad see the good and think that it's just like, okay, well, that just maybe it was maybe it was a loss of communication. They didn't mean to embellish that. But we're talking for 77 minutes. They looked for a key for a door that was unlocked. They didn't even know. Do you know what? Yeah, exactly, Jen. Do you know what they were doing? They were too scared. The chief was, the chief was too scared to go in himself. So he threw out that they needed a key without ever checking until people that weren't scared. Hey, Kimberly, got into the building and would take care of it. No wonder the janitor couldn't be found because he knew the door wasn't locked. Like, it's just, oh my God. Am I calling Jill, Jen? Oh, Jill's here. Yeah, she's up there. But it's something, you guys, we can't stop talking about. We just really have to. I'm never going to be content with the situation because I feel very passionate about it. And I don't think any of us are ever going to be content with what happened. How can you be content when 21 innocent people are brutally murdered by a psychopath? But I will feel more of a sense, Jen, more of a sense of a little bit of closure once, and this isn't, I don't deserve I mean, the families, obviously. Once the truth is out. Oh, attempting to negotiate through a wall. Let me see that video. Let me see the video that shows him attempting to communicate through a wall. Please, please let me see that video. Several times. In different languages. He wanted to make sure he was covered. Oh, I'm going to solo. Wait, what did Brandy say? Oh my gosh, I know. Oxford shooter, I think charges should be filed. Yeah, and they're looking into that like really hard core, aren't they, Brandy, to talk about if they're. And that's what the chief of the sheriff's association was saying. Like, are we just going to keep letting a lack of response just continue to not learn anything and just continue to let this lack of police response or whatever? But this is insane. Like, I'm almost scared about what's going to come out tomorrow. I think too, it's when you picture the kid. Yeah, it's just. I'm gonna do some more digging tonight. Brandy, you wouldn't think so. Did any of you be real in the chat? Give me your opinions. Did any of you think it was this bad? Like that I can't even talk because it seriously gets me tongue tied sometimes. That it was this bad, that this many lies were told, or this many. So the mayor says the reason that the lies were told was because they didn't have all the info yet and they spoke too soon. Gotcha. All right then. It's a solid excuse. Yeah, not this bad, Jen. I know. I know, Amber. Salem, I know. Well, and that's the thing. Like, okay, they didn't know all the information. Well, the police certainly knew all the information. The ones in the hallway certainly knew all the information. The chief of police certainly knew all the information, but did nothing. Meanwhile, McCraw, okay, he's the head of all of Texas DPS. Okay, so he came into the situation not right. I mean, he had to get there, right? All right, night, Solo. We'll see you tomorrow. So he's taken all the heat for this, which I'm not saying he didn't do things wrong, but he wasn't in the school. Deputy Dude Chief was in the school. It's just maddening. It's just maddening. And then, it's just and I think what makes it worse, guys, is like we were saying, these stories keep coming out, and now we know the that the husband of one of the teachers was in the hallway. Like, can you imagine? Um, that was said actually, Jill, by Brandy yesterday. And the fact that Quantico is involved now, I will say a senator did up front ask that question to McCraw today and said, has there been any connections to the cartel that we're seeing? He said no connections as of yet. Okay, that doesn't really mean anything right now at this point because we've seen the accuracy of their, I know, Jackie, of their reporting. Uh, but I think that they're going to be very, yeah, I wouldn't, say that that's, yeah, I don't think that's as out there as you think. Exactly, Amber, exactly. Uh, yeah. And yeah, like, can you picture your spouse dying on the other side of the wall and you can't get to them because your so-called buddies have detained you, removed you from not only the building, but the school grounds? No, 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 that does it for me. No, like, no way. And then they wonder why all the parents are like, have said, we will never, like, it's, ugh. I know, Jill. And then the ones that were, like the husband, was detained. It is, it's just really wild to me. It doesn't make sense that they would stop him. Why wouldn't they be like, no, no, we're gonna go? Like I don't know. I think there's a lot of questions. So I am super. I think tomorrow will again. We'll see who else we hear from tomorrow. I would like to hear from. I hope. Yeah. I did say that I did just see that the. Yeah, I know, Salem. I did just see the education commissioner has launched, he has said that before school will be allowed to start in Texas, that every door will be checked in every school. Exactly, Brandy. Exactly, Amber. It's all nuts. It's just, I don't know. As a spouse, I'd never be able to. I don't think I'd ever be the same again. I just, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they could have stopped it, like, and not go and been like, we've got this, and got like they knew. And he came out in the hall 3 times, and I understand. I know, Jackie. I understand that there's kids there. I get it. I get it. Like, and the walls were thin. But he came out of the classroom 3 times. Even if they would have just rushed him, anything, just rush him, cause chaos, anything to get him distracted, like anything. They just sat there. But so that's what the update is today. Obviously, it's been quite a day. The timeline has completely changed over the last 2 days. Exactly, Jackie. 3 times. Oh, Jill, I remember like the first day, like the first day after the remember the father who was just basically weeping. He said they're out, they're gone. And I will say, y'all, there has been several Reddit posts from community members and whatnot, and Facebook posts of people saying you don't understand, this corruption has gone on for years from within the community. So I mean, there's some really weird things happening. Yeah, exactly, Brandy. Exactly. All right, y'all. I'm gonna hop off of here, and I'll keep you updated tomorrow. If there, I'll stream it if there are gonna be some like actual productive people that witnessed it and whatnot. Um, I think we've digested all we can take for today. It's terrible. I'd hit the chief of police with 19 counts of negligent homicide, but that's just me. It's probably not even illegal, but hey, I would do that. 21, excuse me, 21. All right, guys, have a great. I know, Amber, it's tough. Have a great night, and I'll talk to you guys all tomorrow. Stay safe.